The 10-year-old girl vanishes just blocks from her home.
A heart-wrenching story, a missing girl and a father set to be deployed to Iraq in just weeks. Where is Lindsey Baum?
I'm Lindsay's father. I would love nothing more than to see my daughter before I have to go. Please bring my daughter home.
Vanished out of thin air is what it appears to be. There's nothing.
It's very frustrating because we are not able to rule anything out because we have no evidence to point us in any specific direction.
Here's what detectives have to work with. 10-year-old Lindsey Baum was last seen walking home from a friend's house. She never made it the half-mile to her house.
We've activated a lot of search and rescue resources. We have between 50 and 60 searchers from counties throughout western Washington. It's becoming highly unlikely that she is still in McClary. Word's out. It's not out just here in Washington, but the word's been spread throughout the country that we're looking for Lindsay, and we're trying to keep her picture and her face in everybody's mind. Mr. Baum's in the National Guard. He's with the unit in Tennessee. Obviously, the exact date of his deployment isn't something that's publicly discussed, and he's not at liberty to discuss that. I think even if he knew exactly when that was going to occur. Suffice to say, he will be deploying overseas in the very near future. It's very important to him and to the other members of the family that they be reunited with Lindsay as soon as possible.
The father of this missing girl set to be deployed to Iraq in just days. Out to Jacob Jones with the Daily World. What is the latest in the search for now 11-year-old Lindsey Baum?
Well, considering that yesterday was her birthday, the authorities wanted to get started off with a big push this week. They brought back out dozens of volunteers to search nearby off-road vehicle park just a few miles away, and then they brought out the father stepped forward with his public plea for any new information on Monday. Since then, they've suspended the search, but they've got about 12 to 15 deputies and detectives that are doing more specific searches and interviews with different people.
Actually, Matt Zarella, our producer on the story. Matt, take me back to the time she went missing. What happened?
Well, she was with friends about 6 blocks away from her house. It's in a very small community just west of Seattle. She's walking home about 6 blocks away. She never makes it home. There's a gas station in the middle of her walk that has surveillance video. She is not seen on the surveillance video. She is sighted walking a few blocks from the house, never makes it home.
And between the time she is sighted, I believe, by a neighbor about 3 blocks from her own home, this is around 9:30 at night. I'm a little confused about who would send a child out to walk home alone at 9:30 at night. That aside, how long between that sighting by the neighbor and the time she was reported missing by her mother?
It was about an hour later. Mom said she went out and looked for a few minutes and then called cops and then went out looking again.
And Mom has taken and apparently passed a poly, right?
Yes, she has.
Why? Why did she feel she had to take a poly?
She did not want the finger being pointed at her. She said, I wanted to step forward and make sure everyone knows I had nothing to do with this. My daughter's missing. Please help me find her.
Mike Brooks, former Fed with the FBI. Weigh in, Mike.
Well, Nancy, it's very unusual, as Matt said, because that Shell station is right on the way. And in fact, there were 2 other people. It's a very, very small community, and everybody knows everybody else. In fact, there were two people that actually saw her on the way home and said, oh, yeah, well, we saw her walking on the way. And then she just vanished into thin air, Nancy. But it is close to an interstate, so there's always a possibility that she could have been abducted and somebody just jumped on interstate and took her out of the area.
Now, how close is it to an interstate, and do you know what interstate it is?
No, I was talking to one of my sources, and they said it's very, very close to an interstate. I wish I could tell you what the route number is, but apparently it is very accessible to the interstate nearby.
What about it? Back to Jacob Jones. Tell me about how close it is to an interstate. What interstate is that, and where does it head?
Well, it's within minutes, maybe 5 minutes of a couple of different interstates. There's the 108 running north and south, and then there's Highway 8 that goes in between Grays Harbor and Olympia. So there's a lot of ways out of town within close proximity, and I know that that's a concern to authorities.
Let's assume she's still alive. Out to the lawyers. To Joe Lawless, what would you advise whoever has Lindsey Baum?
Obviously, I'd advise them to turn her into a police station right away. That's the only thing you can advise. the circumstances under which they do it is up to them, but the longer they have it, the deeper trouble they're going to get in, and God help them if anything happens to that child.
Lauren?
That's exactly right. All you can do is tell them, come to your senses, get a grip, turn her into the police, and then beg for some kind of mercy.
And Gloria Allred, I've seen it argued many, many times at trial. He turned himself in, he came to the cops, and believe it or not, it does make a difference to juries and prosecutors.
It does make a difference. And even if the person doesn't want to turn himself in, perhaps he could make an anonymous call to the police and say where she is. And that would be very important to the family and to the police.
Out to the lines, Angie in New Hampshire. Hi, Angie.
Hi, I love you. I can't believe I got through.
Thank you for calling, dear. What's your question?
Well, thank you so much for all you do for these kids, because who would be there? But anyway, I want to say God bless you, and then I want to ask a question. This little girl, we've seen so many on your show, dear, that are just walking home from a friend's house. I mean, was she living with her mom and dad? You know, I think they think that, oh, they're at a friend's house, they'll be safe walking home. You know, I'm old-fashioned. I used to walk my kids to the friend's house and then pick them up and walk them back. But I was wondering who was in charge of her. And if you could get the word out, walk the kids to the friend's house. I feel so bad when I hear this. And I wanted to know your opinion on that.
I agree with her, Mike Brooks. I remember as a child, if we went anywhere, our parents would take us, pick us up, or it was usually just across the street. And they would open the door and watch as we walked home.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I didn't get within one block, and if my father whistled, I knew that was the time to come home. But Nancy, you know, in a small community like this, you know, a lot of people probably don't even lock their doors. And, you know, because it is, you know, nothing ever happens to this. But, you know, again, some people live in small communities like this, they get lulled into a false sense of security.
We are taking your calls. This father set to go to Iraq to serve his country while his 11-year-old little girl is missing. The tip line, 866-915-8299. And to read about our cold cases, especially one about a missing mom of two, she vanishes during a divorce. That disappearance still a mystery. Go to cnn.com/Nancy Grace and then click on Cold Case.